Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Seth Weiner. I am your auctioneer, and you're tuned into Coffee Connections, insights with innovators in the nonprofit world. And today we're going to Savannah. Well, I'm here in Atlanta, but we're going to Savannah. And speaking of Savannah, I don't know why I say speaking of Savannah, but I think I'm thinking of travels. I just got back from Memphis, Tennessee. Did this music festival called Mempho. We raised well over $50,000 for St. Jude's Children's Hospital. St. Jude does amazing work. One of the stats that they shared with me just is mind blowing. Since St. Jude started, right, and it's not that long ago. We're talking, a couple decades. The rate for success with children that have cancer they went from a 20% success rate to almost it's right under 90% or right around there. So that is just incredible. It just goes to show you that when you put money into an organization and it's a good organization like the one we have here today, money is well spent and has a lot of effect. So let me jump into what we're doing, who we have on the show today. Today we've got both Kathryn and Abby with Safe Shelter. Now, Safe Shelter, their mission, for the mission of Safe Shelter Center for Domestic Violence Services, it is to prevent domestic violence, protect victims, and promote change in lives, families, and their community. And their community is Savannah. Since 1979, Safe Shelter has been Savannah's only shelter dedicated to victims of intimate partner violence and their underage children. They're open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The shelter provides safe, confidential services to all victims of domestic violence. So let me go ahead and bring to our program here, and please join me in welcoming both Abby and Kathryn. Hello, ladies. How are y'all?
Hey, Seth. How are you?
Hey. I am
Thanks for
wonderful.
having us.
It is a pleasure to have you all. Before we jump into it, though, are you all coffee drinkers?
We are indeed. We're ready.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, tell us about your mugs.
For Seth, we've got you on our minds here in Savannah with us.
And of course, go dogs.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I'm glad to. I wonder what the S really stands for, though.
It's for you.
For Seth, of course.
You warm my heart. So listen, if you drink coffee in those mugs, do you enjoy coffee? Are you both like into coffee, or are you more of a tea person?
I'm a big coffee drinker. I don't go a day without it.
So yeah, and I'm here and there. I like coffee, but it's not something that I have to have every morning. So
now, if I walked into the office, is it going to smell like coffee?
Yes,
100%.
All right. Well, and if you're going to drink coffee out and about, what's your favorite? You more of an iced coffee? I mean, Savannah, I'm thinking it gets hot. So are we talking iced coffee, or have we made the shift in the fall?
Iced coffee.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
The Dunkin' Donuts. Now, you use the app and you get you get all the free rewards. I love their free. They really they suck you in, don't they?
They do. In Savannah, it's still 90 degrees in October, so we'll be drinking iced coffee for the rest of the year.
Oh, well, yeah. All right. Well, let's jump into it, folks. I'm going to hand the mic over to you ladies to tell everyone a little bit more about Safe Shelter.
Sure. Okay. So, first of all, my name is Abby Garrett. I'm the community outreach specialist here at Safe Shelter. So we are a domestic violence shelter located in Savannah, Georgia. We service all of Chatham County and any victim of domestic violence. We have a 48-bed shelter facility. So we're actually one of the largest in the state of Georgia. We also have a follow-up program where we can, once the client has come through the shelter and they leave the shelter, we can follow that client for up to 2 years, still providing services to them, whether they need, housing items or just a little case management or a connection, they're having problems with their benefits. We can follow them for up to 2 years in that follow-up program. So that is really, really cool. And then we also have a legal advocacy program. So an outreach office that is in a public location, where if a victim doesn't necessarily need shelter, but they still need assistance with like a temporary protective order or other, legal situation that they may face as a victim of domestic violence, we can provide those services to them at the outreach office.
I muted myself there. That's amazing. 48 beds. Do you ever outgrow that? And if so, how do you handle that?
We do. So unfortunately, we do see that happen where that 48 is just not enough. And we are committed to never turning a victim away. So if we are, maxed out, we've got 48 beds completely full. What we do at that point is we actually pay for the new client to stay in a hotel until we have room in the shelter to bring them in. So that's, something that is very important to us. We'll never turn a victim away. We want to make sure that they have somewhere safe to stay until we can make room in the shelter for them.
Yeah. And Seth, just to add to that, I know we'll talk about fundraising in a little bit, but that's something, we have to pay for out of pocket. So, all the funds we can get, every single dollar goes to use. And that's just one example of, what we're paying for.
Now, are you also paying for the legal fees? I know if you've ever dealt with a lawyer.
Yeah, so with the temporary protective orders, those are completely free of charge to the clients that come through us. And then we get them connected to another resource in our area, Georgia Legal, and they will provide a pro bono attorney for them for the hearing. And if for whatever reason they don't have an attorney available to do that, then we will get an attorney for them to be represented during their temporary protective order hearing.
Wow. And do you have a lot of attorneys that are doing pro bono work for you all, or? Yeah.
We are very fortunate, and we have a very small group of attorneys that we could call, at the drop of a hat if we need something. They're there to either, give advice, or if they need to represent somebody in an emergency hearing, then we have people that we can call here in our area. We're very fortunate to have those connections with some attorneys that will do that for us.
And you said that Savannah's got a high rate. I'm curious, is it a higher percentage than larger cities, or is it pretty average, or what's the climate there?
So I would say we are pretty on average with the state as far as domestic violence victims. Now, people think of us, you think of Savannah, you think kind of small town area, but what people don't realize is that we are, of course at a smaller scale, but we are comparable to Atlanta in the sense that we, our demographics are different here. We're the only one of the other cities in Georgia. And so we have public transportation. There's a lot of shelters in the state that don't have access to public transportation because of where they're located. But we have, I would say we're pretty on average with the amount of calls that we get for domestic violence victims in our area.
And we do have the second biggest shelter in the entire state after Atlanta, just to add to that. So
now, if let's say Atlanta was, if they're full, they're probably doing the same thing that you're doing and with hotels. But do you take other folks from other areas as well and shelter them? They just want, they're afraid for their lives, so they're going to leave their city.
Absolutely. And we also, domestic violence shelters in the state, you'd be amazed at the network that we have to assist with those sorts of things. Let's say a client is experiencing domestic violence in Atlanta and they're, terrified that he's out looking for them. Then we would partner with whatever shelter they're currently affiliated with and get them transferred here so that they can start a life away from that same area where their abuser may be living.
And what about the kids and mental health issues and this sort of stuff? How are you handling that when a family comes over
Yeah, so when we have a family that comes in with children, which is, fairly often, we have a great child advocate on staff who works directly with them to make sure all of their needs are met. There are certain laws in Georgia that will allow a child that's experiencing domestic violence to actually stay in their same school so that they don't have to completely uproot and start over somewhere else. So if that family decides that, they love the school, obviously didn't love the home life, but love the area that they were in, and those children can continue to go to school there. And our child advocate will work with one of the school liaisons that will work out transportation, getting them to and from school so that they can stay in that area that they're already comforted in. They're already going through so many changes just by coming into a shelter and leaving their home, having to explain what's going on between parents. And so once they're here, that being able to stay in the same school is a big morale booster for the children. And then we also have a counselor on staff who will provide counseling services to those families.
And what's the origins? How did this organization come to be?
Well, there were 4 local women in the 1970s, and they realized, there was no safe place for victims of domestic violence and their children to go. So it was established in 1979. We're actually, in 2001, we're in the facility we are in now is when we moved here. So we've been around for about 43 years, through a lot of dedication and volunteers. This community is amazing. And, without their support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do every day. So.
And can you explain a little bit more about how abuse is seen? Because I think that the conception most people have is abuse is someone getting physically beaten, but there's more to it than that. And maybe you can shine some light on that.
Sure, absolutely. So you're exactly right, Seth. When people picture domestic violence, they picture women in particular with black eyes and being super submissive and not having a voice. But people don't realize that domestic violence is so much more than that. Domestic violence is a cycle of control. It's all about power and control. It doesn't always have to be physical. Sometimes it's just emotional, putting somebody down constantly, making them feel like they're nothing. Making sure that they're cut off from their resources. So that means, they've caused so many fights between family members or whatever that victim no longer feels like she has a connection to a family member to get out. And when I emphasized earlier, people picture women, I want you to understand that it's not just women that experience domestic violence. At times there are men as well that experience domestic violence. And we have seen an increase recently in the men that we have been assisting, as well as same-sex couples. We've been seeing an increase in that lately. And I don't know if that's just because people are more comfortable to, express that that's their lifestyle, or, if it is happening at a higher rate. But we are definitely seeing more victims of everyone, not just women that are coming in to get our services. And as I was saying, there's the physical violence, there's the emotional violence, there's financial abuse that happens. When those paychecks are coming in, the abuser is in control of all of that money. She doesn't have ways to leave. There's also threats that hold women in place. So, threatening, if you ever leave me, then I'm going to tell everybody you're crazy and you'll never see your kids again. Threatening to harm the pets. We talk about that every now and again. Those abusers will come up with ways to threaten the women or men, to, if you ever leave me, something bad's going to happen to your animal, to your beloved little pet. And so there's all sorts of types of abuse that occur. And so when you think of domestic violence, there's so many barriers. It's not just he hurts me physically. There's a lot deeper roots that go with domestic violence.
And what about the education to prevent the violence from ever happening? How are you all just dealing with violence happen, now we deal, or do you have education programs in place in schools or wherever to help folks not only realize that they might be in an abusive relationship and how to get out of it before it gets worse, but for the abuser to realize that they're being abusive. Maybe they don't even realize they're being abusive when it comes to emotional abuse, and because it's not all physical, like you said.
Yeah, absolutely. And we, pre-COVID, had a great program where we were going into the schools. COVID kind of changed all of that up for us a little bit. But we were going into the schools, particularly in the middle schools, where you start seeing those dating relationships, those interests are flying around, and really explaining that these controlling behaviors, like he says, he goes through your phone because he loves you so much. That's not normal, and that's not healthy. That's not okay. So we host those classes for males and females, explaining to them that these little things that start now. They start early in what they accept as love and what they project as love, and so we do have, awesome training courses that we go into the schools, and we'll work with the children on healthy boundaries is what we call it. The whole program is healthy boundaries. And then we also have awareness pieces. So, any event that we can find to go to, like talking with you today to spread awareness about domestic violence, we participate. We're very happy to share, any news that we can, spread the word about domestic violence and the services that we offer to try to, first of all, prevent those things from happening, and then also to help when it does happen.
That's wonderful.
And then I wanted to add, sorry, Seth,
no, you're good.
Talking about education and, starting them early in middle school. Our director, Cheryl Branch, she always says, I really, truly believe this is a learned behavior. She's been here long enough to see second generations come in. Their mom was here, when they were babies, and now they're back because that's what they grew up seeing and thinking was normal and okay. So the education piece is just so important. And the younger the age, the better. Just wanted to put that on there.
Yeah, that's I mean, that's really sad that's the that is a truth,
Yeah.
Kids,
and like Abby said, it's a cycle. It's a vicious cycle.
Well, now those kids know how to find you because they grew up, exposed to you all. But how do folks typically find you?
Very good question. So I think that comes from a lot of different areas. We're very fortunate that in the Savannah area, a lot of our community partners know of us. And so, at our hospitals and our schools, if they see families that are experiencing domestic violence, or, the woman does come into the hospital with, signs of physical violence that has occurred to her, they know to refer to us, which is, we get a lot of calls from the hospitals, which is sad, but also good that they know that we are here to help those victims. Again, school referrals. At times we've had families come in through the school counselors and social workers that have made those referrals to us. DFACs will also make referrals to us at times if they need to. And then we also have like awareness posters out in the community, just with our information at community centers, anywhere that we think that people may run across them is where we try to put our awareness out there, because domestic violence doesn't care about socioeconomic status or anything like that. Domestic violence does not see boundaries and who it affects. So that's, we try to reach as much of the community as we can.
And we have a very close relationship with law enforcement here in Chatham County. So they know we're here. They bring a lot of victims to us, and they know how important it is for them to get help. So our relationship with them is extremely important. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And during COVID, did you see a bump in domestic violence, or is it more post-COVID when people were a little bit more comfortable of escaping their homes and whatnot?
Yeah. So for us, it was kind of strange because you did see everywhere that during COVID, those numbers were rising. Even Savannah Police Department, they were seeing an increase in calls about domestic violence. Our shelter, though, actually, I think it stayed, our numbers stayed pretty solid. I don't think we saw a spike until the barrier started coming back down. So people were feeling a little bit more comfortable about being in a shelter setting. And at that point, we had overflow in the hotel. When COVID started, people were feeling a little bit more relaxed about COVID. So with that being said, I mean, our numbers were contrary to what the average was. Yeah, the average was, but when it picked up, Yeah. we were back to normal for sure.
Which, we attributed to they're locked down, they can't go anywhere, you're spending more time together, the financial stress, the children are in school, just, all those factors come in, and we did end up seeing a bump in numbers. But I think now we're kind of averaging out.
Yeah.
And I said post-COVID, but I mean, we're not post-COVID. We're just
no, we're not.
Yeah. We're definitely not.
Unfortunately.
All right. Well, it takes a lot to run an organization like this, and I'm curious. I mean, let's start by telling folks at home, go to safeshelter.org, and you, while there, consider making a donation. But outside of the donations that come in like that, where is your primary fundraising come from? Is it through foundations or grants? Tell a little bit about that.
We do get some state funds, which are very helpful. The majority of our fundraising comes from this community. Like I said, we could not do this without them. As you know, as our auctioneer, our annual gala is in November, and that is by far our biggest fundraiser of the year. Unfortunately, last year we had to cancel due to COVID, and that was kind of a big hit for us financially. So we are really looking forward to this year and kind of hoping we'll be back bigger and better than ever, to get these funds and keep these doors open.
Outstanding. Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it. So you have you mentioned some of the partners, local support. So what are some of the organizations or companies that tend to really help support you all?
Well, us being in Savannah, we have Gulfstream here. They're very supportive. We have the airport, we have Colonial Oil, just the big corporations that are here in Savannah are very supportive of us. And as they are, all the nonprofits in Savannah get help from these corporations. So,
you mentioned corporations. So I met this volunteer that was helping out with an organization called Headcount. She lives in New York, and she was telling me that she was volunteering for Headcount at this festival because the company she works for, which is what's the makeup company, L'Oreal, is that it? Mm-hmm. They have a corporate program that, and gosh, I'm killing it here, but they'll double the money. So like they'll double donations if she donated, or if she donates her time, they'll donate money. And do you have corporate partners like that? Are you seeing funds coming in through these type of fundraising?
I'd say we are a United Way partner, and I believe that they do some fundraising along those lines. And then we're very grateful that will then get passed down to us as a United Way partner.
They have a big community fund, and they donate, to all of their agencies every year. Again, with COVID, we didn't get as much as we wanted or needed last year. So we're hoping for, a bigger amount this year. But all the help we can get, corporations, we have individual donors who are just as important and give just as much. So every dollar counts, $1, $100. And, at the scale, we're hoping to raise close to $300,000. That is our goal. So we'll see how that goes.
And
with the help of you.
Now I'm going to put you on the spot since you put me on the spot. No, I'm kidding. My question is, what is the most innovative thing that you've done in the last year and a half, 2 years, so since the start of 2020, that could be in fundraising, or it could be in managing, or a new program, or an online thing? What comes to mind? What's the most innovative thing that you've all done?
All right, so that is a very loaded question. Like I said, as far as being innovative. So if I've got two pieces we can talk about. So fundraising last year, we had a local group that did a online concert for us, a benefit concert. So that was very cool. It was in place of our fund, of our biggest fundraiser, which is the annual gala. And, of course, we were very thankful for all the funds that it brought in. And it was very cool. It's still on our website if anybody wants to check it out. It's really neat.
The Fabulous Equinox.
Yeah, the Fabulous Equinox is a local group that put that on for us, and so it's really cool. But one thing I will say about safe shelter that is innovative just in general, and like our program in the domestic violence shelter realm, is our length of stay. So in most shelters, the typical length of stay is about 30 days. So they consider it, emergency basis. We're here to get you out, make sure that you're safe, and then you move on to find your permanent housing on your own. Here at Safe Shelter, though, the typical stay is about 90 days, which is, 1 month versus 3 months to get your life together. That's a big jump of time. And so with that, typical 90-day stay, we make sure before they leave here that they've got somewhere to go. So we help them find that permanent housing prior to them leaving the shelter. And then, of course, in case-by-case basis, if we need to extend that 90 days, we can do that as well. So as far as innovative in the DV, domestic violence field, that is very different than most shelters in Georgia.
Wow. Yeah, that's wonderful. Well, this has all been great. Is there anything that you overlooked that you wanted to talk about that maybe we missed or you want to circle back to?
Well, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, which is why we were so happy that you could fit us in. This is kind of a national event. It brings together domestic violence advocates, kind of a time, we mourn victims, but we celebrate survivors. It's a time to spread awareness, to raise more funds, just kind of, something that we can use to spread awareness and, tell everybody how important what we do is. October 21st is Purple Day, and this is kind of a national movement. Wear purple, take your selfie. What's the hashtag?
It's hashtag Purple Thursday.
Purple Thursday.
Yeah, Purple Thursday.
And post on social media. So that's going to be fun for us. And then, like we said, our gala is in November, which we're super excited about. We're working really hard and hope that is going to be a successful event for us.
Excellent. And you can go to safeshelter.org, folks, and that's where you can get all this information. You can make a donation and also have a lot of resources and learn about domestic violence, but also it's a good exploration to see maybe you are being violent, you don't even realize it.
And we do have social media, so follow us: Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and keep up with what we're doing every day around here.
Excellent. Well, ladies, thanks so much for your time today. I look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks. But before I let you go, is there another organization that you'd like to recommend to be a guest on Coffee Connections?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we talked about this, and we think this organization would be great to host. So when victims of domestic violence leave their abusive situations, they often don't know what they're going to do with their pets. So there's a really great organization here in Georgia called Ahimsa House. They serve the whole state of Georgia, and they are basically like pet foster care for domestic violence victims. So that victim gets to the shelter. Once they are here, we get them connected with Ahimsa House, and they will work with a network of vet's office and boarding schools. What do they?
Rescue?
No, just places that board pets.
Oh, like doggy daycare.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. So they board the pets completely free of charge to the client, so to make sure that their pet is in a safe place until they can be reunited once they leave the shelter. So Ahimsa House is a great organization that we partner with.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to chatting with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much. Well, have a wonderful day. Hopefully it gets a little cooler in Savannah. But this is like, this is your month, Savannah. Like at the end of the month is when all the ghosts come out, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you all so much. Folks, we'll be back. It's a pretty busy time of year, so we're cutting back to one episode a week. And if you just need your fix of Coffee Connections, coffeeconnections.live, you can check out all 50 plus episodes. So have a wonderful day. Again, thank you, ladies. And
thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.